Hey fellow mini truckers, welcome back to Illicit Customs. On today's episode, we're combining math, geometry, and physics. Because it's time to have fun finally installing the rear shocks. Which is why I have show rims out front, but my mock-up wheels out back. I'm actually in the process of getting the truck set up for the next car show, but I have just enough time to get everything done out back. Now there's a million different ways to install shocks and a million different ways not to install shocks. So I'm going to go through the process with you so I can explain why I'm doing things a certain way, and I can explain the setup I had before and why I'm not going that direction again. So come follow me as we have an up close and personal view of the back of this truck. Just like in any adjustable suspension, you need to figure out how much movement you're going to have in your axle throughout its travel. Case in point, my old setup was a 2-link with a panhard bar. That 2-link was not capable of the 15 plus inches of travel that I had. So there was more movement front to back and side to side than it should have had. Think of the link bar as my arm. So from my shoulder to my fingertip, it's going to stay the same. But when I have it down to my side to side length is short. When I raise it up to here, it's a little bit longer. Right here, it's at its longest point. So any movement up and down that I do, my fingertip changes the length from my shoulder. So with that said, the whole axle does a C shape. That's the travel of any adjustable suspension. The same concept applied to my panhard bar. It kept it centered side to side at ride height, but because of the amount of lift that I had, it moved the axle over a good bit more than it should have. Combine all of those factors with my shocks being at an angle like this from side to side, you can about imagine how many issues we had. The body of the shock would come in contact with the center trunk. The top bolt was put in a bind often because it's at a fixed point. It cannot move. Throughout the travel of the axle, the shock would do this number. And it would put pressure on the bolt as well as the bushing, and it would lead to premature wear. Also, because of the side-to-side movement that it had, my shock may have been like this on one side, but the other side would have been in an angle like this. That's because with the side-to-side movement, your bottom pivot point is always changing. So if the axle is shoved over that way, this shock will be a different length and angle than this one. So that's another reason you have to think about everything before you do any fabrication at all, which is why I decided to mount my shocks like this. It leans front to back, and it allows every single pivot point to work together with each other in unison. Nothing will be in a bind, and nothing will damage another part by coming in contact with it. So for shocks, I'm running a 2004 Dodge Ram 1500 2-inch rear drop shock. So now the first thing I'm going to do is figure out the fully collapsed height and the full extended height. This way I can kind of get an idea of where it's going to sit, because this upper cross member that I'm going to install is going to be the upper mount point. And I need to figure out the correct angle of everything. That way it doesn't come in contact with anything else, and I get the proper geometry for the shock to work its best. I went from having a vision in my head to fully functional shocks in a matter of one weekend. And it's actually easier than you think. So don't let it scare you away just because you haven't done them before. It's something you can easily do in your shop or in your driveway. And if you make a mistake, don't panic. It's not going to be the end of the world. Trust me, I made a mistake on here and it was an easy fix. The reason it was an easy fix is because I tack welded everything instead of fully welding it from the start. The mistake was originally I wanted this cross member mounted to the back side of the notch, and I wanted the shocks in front of the cross member. This way, whenever I design everything back here, the gas tank, air tank, compressors, whatever I decide to put here, I won't have to make a provision for the shocks. I think it's still going to be okay because I have tons of room back here, but I made the mistake of putting the cross member on the back side and not thinking about the full travel of the suspension and where the shocks would end up going. Once I had everything tack welded, I raised it up and cycled the suspension. That's when I realized the shocks would come too close to the axle for my liking. So the simplest fix that I could do is break the welds and take this cross member that was down here and flip it over to the top side of the notch. This way the shocks would be on the back side and it would have the correct angles for everything throughout the whole cycle of the suspension. Now you can really see what's going on. When it's laid out, the upper shock mounts are 90 degrees to the shocks, which gives about a 1/4 inch of clearance between the two, and they'll never come in contact. The lower brackets are actually lower shock brackets that you're supposed to weld on directly to the axle. What I did was I took this, which is the axle side of it, and I narrowed it up to fit the same shape of this lower link bar bracket. Then, as you could tell, I have a bend in it. I hand fabricated those bends. That way it would go from the wide link bar bracket down to the correct width for the shocks. Now, do you remember at the beginning of the video where I said there's going to be some math, geometry, and physics involved? Here's where it comes into play. First, the math. You have to know your full compression and full extension of your shocks. That's going to give you an idea of how much travel just the shock will give you. That's going to give you a rough estimate as to how much suspension travel you're going to have. The geometry, you have to have a basic understanding as to how angles affect everything. If you lay your shocks back too far, they're not going to be as effective. If you put it too straight up and down, you might lose some of your travel, and it might get too close to your axle and come in contact with something else. Lastly, physics. Because not only do you have to have an understanding as to how things operate when they move, you have to have a better understanding as to the forces being applied to those parts when being moved. Just because you think you got it strong doesn't mean it's strong. You have to take into consideration the forces being applied to the parts when you hit a pothole in the road. Because hitting that pothole will actually put more force onto the parts. So you have to think about it ahead of time and make sure those parts are even stronger than you think they should be. Now, I don't have enough time to get the gussets fabricated and installed before the next car show. So when I come back home, that's going to be my first thing I'm going to do. I got to figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. Because I'd rather over-engineer this than leave it alone and have it break on me on the side of the road and have to fix it as soon as I get home. Till next time, keep on mini trucking.